in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I woke up with what felt like a hangover because I've been eating very, very well lately. I mean, really, all natural stuff. No preservatives. You know, no preservatives. I remember in the 70s, people started complaining about preservatives, and I never really knew or thought much about them. But preservatives are chemicals, and they're there to, make food that would naturally rot, sustainable, last long lasting on a shelf. How do you make potato chips? A potato on its own you got to eat it in a certain amount of time. Refrigerate it maybe, but even then you can't eat it for, you can't wait a month. But now you can. I mean, just look at the eat by, June of 2029. How do you keep it food for that long? With a lot of complex chemicals, a lot of them, and physine, benzoate, and crap like that. And my wife has been very, very good about kind of getting me off all that stuff. Well, left to my own devices, though, I'm a bit of a slob and a pig, and when I get kind of stressed out or I'm busy or crunch time or whatever deadline, I will wolf down Fritos. That's a favorite. I haven't had a Frito in about a month. And, man, I woke up. It was like ba-bam, 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 a headache. I'm like, what happened? And I think it was that. It was the Fritos. I also had a lot of popcorn, not the regular popcorn that you get that's fresh popped, stuff that was in a bag, eat by December 17th of 2032. I mean, you can eat it if you're in a real jam. Hey, so some people are giving me a hard time about Julian Assange. I'm not a big fan. Sorry. I'm just, no. Man is guilty of espionage. Great big free speech advocate. I know he's a hero to certain conservatives. He's not one of my heroes. He's not. Neither is Snowden. Now, one of the worst things I think that Julian Assange did is working with PFC Bradley Manning, who later became Chelsea Manning. Remember that nonsense? Or that little punk? And all the secrets he stole from work. The U.S. military, and I'm sorry, the bureaucracy of it all, the Pentagon, there are great people there individually, but en masse, it's so stupid. The bureaucracy never learns. The big takeaway was, well, how could a PFC have access to all of this really sensitive stuff? State Department cables and things like that. Fast forward 11 years, and you may have forgotten about it, but remember there was a National Guardsman from Massachusetts who had like an online, chat forum, and he was posting all this ultra-sensitive stuff from work about everything that maybe we should, we have enough trouble with the high-level people, the low-ranking people. I mean, you got to be senior. I don't think you should be 19 years old and have this stuff, do you? So the big thing that Julian Assange, and I ran a video about this, he released a gun camera video. I think it was an Apache helicopter and a couple of them, and what they were seeing from their little equipment. And they were killing guys in Iraq. They were killing guys. They were shooting them with their sophisticated helicopter equipment. And yeah, it's pretty startling to see. There they are, and there they aren't. Have you ever seen 8 people shot all together with a machine gun? You see it in the movies, but to see it actually happen is pretty wild. Now, the other thing about this, so they put this online, but the pilots at one point were laughing. Now, you can say, well, what barbarians? How could anybody ever laugh? Well, if your job is the military, if your job is dropping bombs, if your job is aiming at and killing the enemy, that's your job. And guess what people do at work? They find moments that amuse them, no matter what you do. Whether you're laying cable on the street, you're working in the subway, you work in Goldman Sachs, I don't care. There's stuff that you find amusing that a lot of other people would not necessarily find amusing. Maybe somebody's heard the term gallows humor, right? Gallows humor. So at what point they chuckle to themselves, and it's a very technical thing they're talking about. It's not like, ooh, look at that guy, he's squirming. Although there was a time where they kind of said, oh, that guy's moving a little bit, shoot him again. War is hell. So Bradley Manning gives this to Julian Assange, and Julian Assange determines this is, everybody needs to know about this. The enemy, the UN. I mean, any military in the world that's fighting a sustained war, you're going to have moments like that. And guess what? It's not a crime. It's not. It's just human beings being human, and it's also a way to deal with it. You know, we talk about post-traumatic stress, right? Well, that's one of the ways of dealing with stress right there. Humor. Humor is a great stress relief, right? So I'm not crazy about Julian Assange. Well, you don't know the facts, Greg. And they're going on and on and on about, I'm not going to become a Julian Assange expert. I'm just not. All right. Lots of other people. He's got his fanboys all over conservative media. They can do that. And the same goes for that little geek, Snowden. Not coming on my podcast. Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan experience, the Joe Rogan experience. Joe Rogan. Oh my God, Joe Rogan said something. Oh, Joe Rogan. I don't know. I mean, I think I like him as a guy. I like him as a guy more than I like his podcast. Who the hell has 3.5 hours to listen to him interview Eddie Van Halen? It's 3.5 hour interviews with Eddie Van Halen. He talked to Snowden for 4.5 hours about his book, and he didn't even read the book, which actually, now I'm just giving him a hard time. He is good. He is talented, Rogan. He's got a lot of interesting insight about men's health and stuff like that. And, one of the keys to interviewing somebody, believe it or not, if they wrote a book, is to not read the book ahead of time. The most annoying thing, if you go to a cocktail party and two people are talking about a book that you haven't read, how long do you stick around for that conversation? But if one guy's saying, so you wrote a book, huh? Well, when did you write it? How long did it take you? What's it about? Those are questions that make heads kind of click in a little bit, right? Shift and want to take notice. Okay, once again, thank you to President Trump for acknowledging the hard work that we're doing. Greg Kelly posted all over Truth Social. I love it. 3 posts from him, and they're all about this crap the FBI pulled. And it's really interesting to hear them try to justify searching Barron Trump's room, justify searching Melania's room. Melania had her own special area. They went in there, rifled through the stuff, and then they put down those little placeholders. Bad stuff. Bad guys. And thank God for Judge Aileen Cannon. Aileen Cannon is her name. Another thing, I don't care how many awards Dana Bash and Jake Tapper have won. And where the hell are they, by the way? You know, they both have shows every day. Well, they're in hiding as well, getting ready for this thing. What's to get ready for? Think about okay, you got to run a debate. What do you do next? What do you have to do? Come up with some questions? Don't they question people every day? Why are they in hiding as well? I think they're in hiding because they're designing some sort of, we will save democracy. We are going to save democracy. They believe that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. If you thought Donald Trump was a threat to democracy and you had the chance to confront him, what would you do? What would you come up with? They're coming up with something. And I think it's going to be big and bad. It's going to be big. Just like the captain of the Titanic. Imagine the Olympia, the sister ship to the Titanic, watches the Titanic go down. Then we're going to go into the same iceberg, see what happens. We'll be fine. Can't happen twice, can it? So I think it's going to be so, you know. Hey, we got to say goodbye to, Barbara, everybody. A lot of people miss Barbara. Barbara, we revamped our phone system, so we're making arrangements. We'll hear from you at 2:15-ish. All right. No, I'm sorry. It's 2:15-ish now. 2:50-ish. My friend Jason Scoop, who does the second best Trump impression, will be in Yonkers in July at a great comedy club, and he's going to be joining me tomorrow, Thursday. And Jason, you know the thing that you've got great? There are a lot of people who try to do Trump, but you love Trump. The others hate Trump. But I'm trying to make... Anyway, That's not bad. It's not bad, but you got to do it every day because it's not as good as it was, and I don't do it quite every day. All right, give me one quick moment.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, growing speculation that Donald Trump is going to name his vice president pick this week. Initially, he said it's going to happen at the convention, right around the convention. I guess we're getting pretty close to the convention. It is July 15th, which is 3 weeks away, kind of. Wow. Who's it going to be? Well, again, the short list is Burgum, Governor Burgum from North Dakota. I've met him in person. I got to say this. He is very impressive in person. You know, you see these guys on TV. You know, they're just another head on your television set, right? You know, he's boring. I change the channel. And then you see the guy and it's like there's a presence. There's something else going on there. He exudes confidence. He exudes competence. He exudes wealth, quite frankly, you know how rich people have a certain vibe. You know, sometimes you can tell by their clothes or whatever. Sometimes you can tell by their grooming. I mean, I hate it, but Obama has this little vibe going now. He's got the clothes are not name brand, but they're ultra expensive and whatever. But I like Burgum. I have a feeling it might be him. I like them all. I like Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't think it should be him. I think he's a little bit too much of a lightning rod. I don't think he's really, I don't know, maybe he'd be great, but he's never held public office. That doesn't matter. Maybe he's a little bit too young. Maybe he's a little bit too new to the game, but his name is still popping up. Marco Rubio, brilliant guy, great on TV. I got to say, though, like back to what Trump was saying about him in 2016, little Marco. I mean, the guy, he owned a boat. I think he owned a boat, like a little boat. I don't know. Trump said, I think he owns a rowboat and $13 and a pair of pants. How can you pick a guy like that? And I think there's something to that. I just don't think he has he looks like my cousin, John Blair. And John Blair's great. But John Blair and Pat, they have a very boyish thing going on. Actually, I take that back. He looks like John Blair when John Blair was in 8th grade. John Blair is a distinguished looking gentleman now. Whereas this guy, he still looks like he's in 8th grade to me. I know that's superficial. And this is not so superficial. He's been in the U.S. Senate. What are you in charge of when you're in the U.S. Senate? You vote. One vote. A vote. One of 100. Well, you have a staff. Yeah. 40 to 60 people. You know, the producer of AM New York has more people working for him. I don't know. I don't think he has the legislative. I don't think he has the executive. Then again, I'll get right behind him if he's picked. And the other guy is J.D. Vance, who is he's very intriguing, very interesting, very brilliant. I don't know if I say brilliant. He's good. He's very articulate, smart. And you need a guy with principles. There are not too many, there are no water walkers out there. It is interesting, though, that Vance, when he became a U.S. Senator last year, before that, his claim to fame was Hillbilly Elegy, a great book, later became a Netflix series about his childhood. Basically growing up what some people would erroneously call, white trash. Remember white trash? Nobody wanted to be white trash. Remember how that was thrown around a lot? Bill Clinton actually talked about white trash. He was mocked as white trash. So, the lifestyle, Midwest, working class, and he has a real good understanding of America. He's also a Marine. He fought in Iraq, but he doesn't make a big deal about that, which I think is kind of cool. He's a Marine, but he's not hitting it like, I served in the Marine Corps. Get out of my way. Just, all right, fine. Don't make such a big deal about it. Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, does that thing work right now? Does that work? Who the hell is Frank? Hello, Frank. No, not that Frank. The other Frank. Frank V. Hi, Frank.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for taking my call. I'm kind of surprised at how you're not excited for Julian Assange to be set free, being that you are a truth teller yourself. One of the great reasons why I love your show and you, Greg. I really think that you hold the truth first and justice, of course. And I'm surprised what part of the story we're all not hearing. From what I understand, Julian Assange released information of war crimes that our military had committed, which we should know about.
No.
As being that
No. I mean, look, I appreciate your call. I appreciate where you're coming from, but the gun camera footage, it's not a war crime. I mean, civilians and left-leaning journalists and a lot of other people would look at it and think they saw a war crime. How could those troops be laughing? And that would fire up our enemies, right? But guess what? If I'm in combat and I take a gun and I start making macabre jokes while I'm killing people and it's my job to kill people, that's a coping mechanism. That's not a war crime. You understand?
Okay,
These are genuine military targets. And yeah, you got 19-year-old guys with weapons. Guess what? They're going to act sometimes like 19-year-old guys. It's one of the reasons why you don't want to go to war, because it's hell. And people will make comments like that. That was a genuine military target. Julian Assange releases that video, fires up half the Arab world, and they make a unpopular war even more unpopular. You see where I'm coming from on that?
I do hear where you're coming from, but if it's a just war, if it is,
well, it wasn't a just war. I forget the just war, non-just war. I'm talking about the techniques and the tactics of war are, by definition, lethal. They're supposed to be. Dude, I mean, look, I was over there. It was unpopular enough. We shouldn't have been over there. And a video like that becomes public. Hey, guess what? You have secrets. I have secrets. Corporations can have a secret or two. I think governments are supposed to have a couple of secrets as well. Not many, and our elected leaders need to know about them. But I don't want everything online. Do you want that, Frank?
No, I do not. But what about Edward Snowden and how he exposed how the government was taking away our Fourth Amendment right for illegal search and seizures with our privacy from our devices? Do you agree with that one? Do you think?
Well, I mean, we were talking about generally speaking, I'm skeptical of Edward Snowden. I am. I mean, look, he could have gone, and at the time when he did all this, he could have gone to Capitol Hill and he could have found a sympathetic senator, right? One of my favorites at the time was Senator Jim Webb. If he was more comfortable with a Democrat, he happens to be a Democrat. Senator, I'm really worried about this stuff. He could have had a press conference. Instead, he went to Russia. He went to Russia, Frank. Is that a problem?
No, it's not a problem.
It's a bit of a problem. It's a bit of a problem. However, I am mindful of some of the good that came from what Snowden did.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, there was that great big lawsuit. I think Missouri, the state of Missouri, the good people there got it going, suing big tech. And I think the government as well. Look, it's a bit complex, but we all know that the FBI and the government, the White House, have been colluding with big tech to censor and stifle content, often conservative content, minimizing it, chasing it off the internet, doing all kinds of trickery to reduce and control the conversation. Jim Hoft, the editor and founder of the Gateway Pundit, was censored, was blacklisted. You name it, the government tried to do it to him, and so did big tech. The Gateway Pundit is such a great resource, thegatewaypundit.com. You got to check it out. Jim Hoft joins us. Jim, thank you for all you do. How are you?
Great, Greg. It's good to be with you. Yeah, we were also the lead plaintiff in this lawsuit. Of course, we were disappointed with the opinion that was released today. But you're absolutely right, and your audience knows this. The government has been censoring conservatives, all of us, at one time or another. Gateway Pundit has been a huge target for them. And today the Supreme Court released their opinion in Murphy versus Missouri. It was not what we expected, but I do believe that we are going to proceed and move forward with what we can with the case.
So what they say here is we all know what the FBI was doing. We know what the White House was doing. as censoring you and others. And I believe the gist of it is what the court ruled is that you could not actually tie what you went through to, say, the FBI. Like, you couldn't 1,000% prove that the FBI was out to censor you. Is that it? Is that the big takeaway for them?
Right. And we talking with my attorney this morning, we expected that this process, this first step may have been difficult for us to prove, but we do believe we have much evidence of what the government was doing. We've done several depositions, dozens of them through this case, and it was through the attorneys general of Missouri and Louisiana. It was Eric Schmidt, who is now the senator of Missouri, started this, along with Jeff Landry, who was the attorney general of Louisiana. Now he's the current governor of Louisiana. They started this case back several years ago now. They asked the Gateway Pundit to join them right away because they knew from some other work we had done with the state of Missouri that we had been a target of the censorship complex, the government censorship complex. So they invited us to be part of this lawsuit. And then they brought in some very prestigious doctors, Greg, Dr. Bhattacharya from Stanford, Dr. Cariati from UC Irvine, and Dr. Koldorf from Harvard, who were all censored during the COVID pandemic. And they were, what we're finding now, Greg, and you know this, the articles we put out at Gateway Pundit, the reports that they put out, these doctors, they were 100% correct. And yet the government censored them from the public. And so I do believe we are going to go forward. I haven't spoken with our attorneys yet. But this has to stop, Greg. You know that. The fact that we were correct and they silenced us is really just, it's unbelievable in America that this happened.
It truly is. It really is just mind-boggling. Now, let me ask you this. Has there been any kind of upside for you in all of this? In that, look, they're talking about the Gateway Pundit, at the Supreme Court. Your name is in this decision, your work. I mean, has there been an upside with the promotion? I'm guessing probably not, because you really got to read this stuff, and the fake news is not reading it, and they're not promoting the Gateway Pundit, unfortunately. But what's the deal? Have you gotten a bump?
Well, Greg, I think, again, I don't think this is over yet. But yes, it's been helpful for us, of course, because it's for one thing, it's pretty much a kick when you're sitting in the Supreme Court and they start mentioning your name over and over again. So that's kind of exciting. But I think this is more important than that. I think it's really something that we have to proceed with because we just can't have the government. They were broadcasting. One thing we discovered. They were broadcasting to the tech giants before the Hunter Biden laptop was even exposed. Before we put out our initial reports in October of 2020, they were already warning the tech giants that this was coming out and to watch out for it, knowing that it was actually factual information that we were going to be reporting, that others reported. And so the government was doing some really nefarious things. It's just unfortunate to think that they could get away with this. And I do hope that we can move forward and have another day in court.
There's that FBI agent, Elvis Chan, who was talking to them about this kind of stuff. Oh, a laptop or whatever, something's coming from Russia. An FBI agent liaising in real time with big tech. It's insane. And I tell you, I really enjoyed reading some of these depositions because they got caught. They may have gotten away with it for now, but they got caught. They're getting caught. And your reporting at the Gateway Pundit is fantastic, but let's pretend for a moment it wasn't. I mean, it's like people have a right to say what they want to say. They don't have to be. It's none of the government's business whether we're right or wrong, to be honest. You know what I mean? So let's
Absolutely.
That's another thing that really gets me. It happens to be you guys were solid on all this stuff, but just pretend theoretically you weren't. That's not a crime, and they should not be bothering us. Jim, just do me a favor, a little bit of history. How did you start the Gateway Pundit? When did it come about?
Yeah. So this was in 2004. I started back when there was no Facebook, no Twitter, no video. Rarely people put pictures on the internet. I started back then as just mostly opinion site, and it's grown from there. Today we have 2.7 million page visits a day. So we're doing pretty well. We've grown over the years, and it's because, Greg, and thanks to shows like yours and others who have promoted some of our work, and you report the truth, people keep coming back. So our numbers continue to grow as the legacy media continues to, lose their traffic. So we're very pleased with that.
And Jim, could you just do me a favor? Where do you come from? Where'd you grow up? How did you get into all this stuff?
Right. So actually, I'm from Iowa, and like Carrie Lake, I'm an Iowa person from a family of 9 children. So that's the same story as Carrie Lake. We're actually friends, and I am based now in Florida. But I originally based the website out of St. Louis, Missouri. So and we're doing pretty well. We're always under attack, though, from the left, Greg, as you can imagine.
Well, it's wear it as a badge of honor. I know Donald Trump does. I mean, you got the right enemies. These are the enemies you want. 2 more quick things. Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh, they ruled, I guess, with the majority against you. And, look, I think, what do you make of them? I mean, are they scared? Do they genuinely feel this way? I feel that the intimidation and the confirmation hearing really messed with Kavanaugh's head. And, half the time he thinks about, look, how is this going to affect my children? He's a human being. I respect that to a certain degree. But at the same time, it makes me really, really mad. Any thoughts on that?
Well, it's very disappointing to see that, that it was a 6-3 decision. And so it was Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett who joined with these 3 leftists. And, of course, the Chief Justice Roberts who joined with them. So, yeah, it's disappointing. But I do believe we're going to regroup and have a new plan and move forward that way.
Hey,
it's too important.
Absolutely too important. You are a patriot. This is stuff that the founding fathers would be engaged in, and they'd be proud of you. Any thoughts on tomorrow, the debate? Everyone's talking about it. Just anything to add about that? I think it's going to be a catastrophe. I don't like it. I can't stand Dana Bash. I mean, they're just driving full speed ahead into an iceberg. I think the Trump campaign, and I love those guys. I don't like this debate.
It could be a catastrophe on several levels. I mean, with the hosts, obvious leftists, they have no love for Donald Trump. It'll be just like the other attacks on Trump. It could be, a 2-hour just bashing of Donald Trump. We're kind of used to that. But I think on the flip side, it's going to be interesting to see if Joe Biden can stand for an hour and a half, and because that guy is looking worse and worse all the time, and so I think the Democrats must be very worried. Well,
Jim Hoft, amazing stuff. And this is not over, as you mentioned. Go to thegatewaypundit.com. It's one of my favorites, so I don't have to load it in each time I put in the website. But it's thegatewaypundit.com, correct?
That's correct, Ray.
All right. Jim Hoft, editor and founder of the Gateway Pundit. Thank you for all that you do. And by the way, if you see Cara Castronova around the office, we love her. I know she's done some great reporting for you guys. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Greg.
You bet. Coming up, we've got the legendary Barbara. We got to check in with her. And that poor woman, I think we need a GoFundMe page or whatever. 2 guys with baseball bats coming up and just beating the hell out of her. And it looks like it wasn't even a robbery at this point. They didn't take anything from her. They just beat her up in the middle of the day in Manhattan. A woman walking, looks like she's on her lunch break, and 2 punks with baseball bats just beat her up and leave her in a doorway. What the hell is happening? Be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, congratulations to George Latimer, the false alarm pyromaniac guy, Jamal Bowman, is gone. He lost decisively in that primary last night. You know, all the time with Jamal, it was the Bronx, the Bronx, the Bronx. Yo, boogie down the Bronx. It's not from the Bronx. It's Westchester County. Nothing wrong with Westchester, but he was really trying to create this illusion that he was, like, you know, in the hood. Here's George Latimer from last night. He's the former county executive, right? And now he's well, we'll see, but he's basically the congressman-elect. Cut 2.
We debate. We find a way to come together. This country cannot afford to splinter into little pieces, and every single representative has to understand the necessity for unity so that we can move forward as a nation. To close, you have given me faith when those of you who
All right,
did.
Good luck. He's going to be great. Let me hear Jamal Bowman yelling and screaming when he found out he lost. Cut 3.
We should not be well adjusted to a sick society. We should be outraged. We should be outraged when a super PAC of dark money can spend $20 million to brainwash people into believing something that isn't true. We should be outraged about
Hey,
that.
shut up for a second. Aren't you the guy who pulled the fire alarm? All right, clean up your own house first. APAC. It's fine. You know, you're allowed to. You're allowed to have nonprofits. You're allowed to raise money. And you're allowed to spend that money to get rid of a psychopath like you, Jamal. Good luck back. I don't think the high school is going to take him back. He was an assistant principal at some school. And I think he is now, you know, basically suspended for life from education. You can't, I told you when I was growing up, a guy pulled the fire alarm 2 towns over. I think he's still in juvenile delinquent hall. You get in big trouble for that. All right. Barbara is back. Hello, Barbara.
Hi, Greg. Good afternoon. I'm back.
Well, I know a couple of things. You must have been thrilled to see Donald Trump speaking so boldly and bigly about faith and reminding people, as you should, what he has done for religious freedom in America.
Oh, I was so glad to see that, and we keep talking about it all the time because no one did all the things that he did, and he was very clear in those 4 years how important that was to him. He knows that that's the first freedom of our First Amendment to the Constitution, and he treats it that way with primary importance, and the benefit is to everyone.
Are you on the bus? Where are you? Just curious. You're somewhere. Where?
I am sitting in my car.
Is the car moving?
Loud?
Is the car moving?
No. I just turned the engine off.
Did you just pull over did you pull over on the Long Island Expressway? I feel like there's a lot of electricity going on there. That's okay.
No, I'm sitting outside the garage at my daughter's house.
Oh, all right. Well, listen, be careful. I want to ask you one thing. This, and you're an expert on this stuff. Tell us why the Louisiana initiative, I guess it's a law, to post the 10 Commandments in public school classrooms. Tell us how that's not an abridgment of what do you call it? Separation of church and state, which I know is a whole kind of notional thing that people always confuse. But tell us how to defend that, because I think it's a good thing, and I want to be able to defend it authoritatively. So tell us what we need to know.
I think it's a very good thing, too. And they worked with First Liberty attorneys. We have worked with First Liberty on some religious freedom cases. They are top-notch. They are very careful. They are extremely good lawyers. And when they wrote this bill, they put in it the things that caused an objection in 1980, I believe it was, when the Supreme Court ruled against a similar effort. What they did was they pointed out throughout the bill that they're emphasizing the Ten Commandments' contribution to the culture, the history, and the law of Louisiana, as well as to our country. Because the Supreme Court had said, these 10 Commandments in 1980 only serve a religious purpose. No, this is to serve an educational purpose. And it's to inspire the students. It's to inform them of the basis of their rights and their laws and to help them learn to respect those rights and laws. The people of Louisiana agree with our founders who said, Adams said that our Constitution, is made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly unfit for the government of any other. And so the Louisiana parents who have elected these representatives who went to their state legislature and to their governor in order to enact this bill. And so I think that they have a very good chance of it going through, although it will be challenged by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. It will be challenged by the Southern Poverty Law Center. It will be challenged by, who knows who else. But hopefully it will survive all those challenges.
Well, I can't stand those guys, especially the Southern Poverty Law Center. They came in and they sued about stop and frisk, and they got that corrupt nitwit judge, what's her name again, Shira Shinlin, to go along with it. Total scam. Was thrown out, by the way, by the appellate court, yet de Blasio dropped the whole damn thing. All right, everything else good, Barbara? Your health and everything all right?
Everything is good. Yes. I'm just hoping that on this debate tomorrow night, which I'm watching with a bunch of friends, I'm hoping that the moderators will not be the ones debating Trump, because I fear that the moderators will do the debate and Biden will be merely a bystander.
You may be right. It's going to be weird.
I feel, yes.
They're going to try to save democracy and all this nonsense. You know what I mean? They're going to try to, who knows what, but it could be very, very, very ugly. So appreciate you. And, Barbara, keep it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you later. And, great caller. She's one of our best. So wise from Long Island. All right. So what are we going to do? We're going to watch. It's tomorrow night. Well, we got tonight. Anything going on? It's a little bit in a weird way, kind of slow news wise. We have the hyper ignorant stuff from Eric Adams again. I guess that's not newsworthy, but the stuff he's been saying about books and, the scariest thing, and it happens a lot. And I know the word scary is sometimes overused, but I've been seeing these guys show up to protest certain books that are in middle school libraries. You got the school board hearings, and then people show up and they start reading from the book, the pornographic book. And I saw a guy, and he opens the book, and he just starts reading from it, and it's graphic sexual content. Graphic. And you can have graphic sexual content, just not in the middle school library. All right? When you're an adult. I mean, let's face it, the kids already have it in their back pocket anyway with these damn cell phones. Anyway, he starts reading it, and then they try to shut him down because they find the language objectionable in a public forum. And then his 2 minutes are up. Bing, 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 right? They chime a bell, and he keeps reading. And 10 seconds later, you know who shows up? The cops. The cops come walking in. Now, what the hell is so precious about a school board? And why the hell do they get a dais? They sit a little bit higher than the community. We didn't elect you guys to the Council of Xenon, right? You're not from the planet Kryptonite. You're our neighbors. You're just regular schnooks like the rest of us. Sit down.